is generally used. The grade of the panel is determined by the quality of the layers. Plywood is made in thicknesses from 1/8 of an inch to more than 1 inch thick, with common sizes being 1/4, 3/8, 1/2, 3/4. What I'd like to touch on here is we use specifically interior grade AC plywood, meaning that the best face was given an A grade and the back face of the wood was given a C grade. Those grades have to do with the price of the wood and also the way that we put the toolbox together. We always want the best side facing out. The A grade specifically has no knots in it. That means that it's a clear face and it really does allow the grain to subtly come up in the project. Next area, softwood plywood grades. Softwood plywood for general construction and manufacturing is manufactured in accordance with U.S. product standards PS 1-83 for construction and industrial plywood. This provides for designating species, strength, type of glue, and appearance. Many species of softwood are used in making plywood. There are 5 separate plywood groups based on stiffness and strength. Group 1 includes the stiffest and strongest, and there is a table here in the textbook on page 29. The next section, grade, trademark, stamp. Structural plywood panels are quality graded in 2 ways. First, a lettering system indicates the veneer quality, the face and the back of the panel. Second, a name indicates intended use or performance rating. The APA, American Plywood Association, has a rigid testing program based on PS 1-95. Mills are members of the association may use the official grade trademark. It's stamped on each piece of plywood. A typical stamp for an engineered grade structural panel is shown in the book, and the stamp itself is something that you'll easily recognize, and it's it's a little blurry at first. It's usually either in purplish dark blue or black ink, and it will give you the ratings and the strength capacity of the wood that you're using. A typical stamp for an engineering grade structural panel is shown. The span rating shows a pair of numbers separated by a slash mark. Span is how long you can go underneath it without supporting it, or how long you can go vertically without supporting it. And that is your on-center measurement. So depending on the material, you would be 2 foot on center, 18 inches on center. For our scale model house project, we are using, for convenience, 2 foot on center, and the scale allows us to basically measure the 2 inches, use the 2 inches as 2 feet. And that's why we're using that particular spacing method before we attach the subfloor to the beams that are running across the floor joists. Generally, the larger the span rating, the greater the panel stiffness. That summary really is, the stronger the wood is, the less joists that you have to put underneath it to support it. But what you really are trying to avoid is flex or bounce in the floor, and you should always use the amount of joists that the material itself recommends. Exposure rating. The grade trademark stamp gives an exposure durability classification to plywood. There are two basic types. Exterior type, which has 100% waterproof glue line. Next, interior type with moisture resistant glue line. However, panels can be manufactured in three exposure durability classifications. The first, exterior, fully waterproof adhesives, use where subject to permanent exposure to weather and moisture. Second, exposure 1, waterproof bond is designed for use where long construction delays are expected before providing protection. Next, exposure 2, identified as interior type with intermediate glue for protection applications where high humidity or water leaks may exist. Most plywood is manufactured with waterproof exterior glue. However, interior panels may be manufactured with intermediate or interior glue. Again, consider the application, consider where this is going, and you want it to withstand the elements if it's outside. So using an interior, something that's designed for inside, outside, yes, you can technically do it, you can, but you should not expect it to last very long. Span rating of plywood. In 1980, the APA issued APA-PRP-108, Performance Standards and Policies for Structural Use Panels. The standard was in response to a need to conserve lumber without affecting the strength of structural plywood. At the time, APA also began placing its trademark on panel thicknesses of 15 32nds, 19 32nds, and 23 32nds of an inch. Today, the trademark is placed on sheathing, floor, underlayments, and side panels with numbers called span ratings. This rating is the maximum recommended center-to-center distance in inches between supports when the long dimension of the panel is at right angles to supports. On APA-rated sheathing, the span rating appears on the trademark as two numbers separated by a slash. So this is probably too confusing without seeing the pages, so I'm going to summarize this. The wood that you're particularly using has properties, and those properties must be respected if you want it to perform its job well. You can always perform it, you can always ignore those things, but your construction project will suffer.